Hey everybody, Captain B-Nard back here with another Wi-Fi battle. Today we have week 5 of the BHDL1 Draft League, and so yeah, we're going to get into this matchup here. We've had a week off as kind of a mid-season break in the league, but we are back, and yeah, we're going to go ahead and search for our opponent. Our opponent this week is going to be Scorpion. And so it looks like it's going to be Scorpion, IGN as well. So yeah, we'll take a look and see what he brought to battle. Alright, so he's got the Virizion, or I'm sorry, the Iron Leaves. He's got the Great Tusk. He's got the Hydreigon. He's got the Moltres. He's got the King Gambit. And he's got the Driftbloom. So, one thing I will say I'm kind of surprised about, no Rotom Wash. So, that was a Pokemon that I was expecting him to bring. He did not bring it. So, yeah. Now the question is, what do we want to lead with here? That's a good question. This is going to be a little bit of a difficult one to decide, actually. But I think we're actually going to go ahead and... He has a lot of solid lead options. That's the real problem here. But I think we're just going to go ahead and lead with the Goodra, actually. Because I think either the Gastrodon or the Pincurchin lead is very obvious. So I don't want to do either one of those things because I think it's too obvious. But yeah, we'll go ahead and see how that works out here. I will say in advance, very difficult to prep for this team as it is very versatile, very solid. But yeah, we're going to see what we can do here and yeah, see what happens. So, there he is, and he's going to go ahead and lead with the Hydreigon as we led with the Goodra. So, not the best matchup in the world for us, not the worst matchup in the world for us. We are Assault Vest, max HP, so we should be able to handle anything this thing throws our way. He may just pivot out here, honestly. So, yeah, he might just pivot out here. Not 100% sure. Yeah, so, if he goes... I think what we do here is we just go for... I think we just go for the Draco. We make the obvious play because he made Draco. Although, at the same time, I feel like there's a solid chance that he... There's a solid chance that he does switch here, or he does U-turn, but I think it's kind of hard to predict what he would come in with, so I say we just Draco turn 1 here, see what he wants to do. And yeah, we'll see what he wants to do. I think even if he is Choice Spec, max special attack, we could still probably take a Draco from this thing if it has it and goes for it, but it's hard to say, as, like I said, we are pretty defensive. So he actually does stay in. He goes Draco Meteor of his own. That is going to take us down by about half. That is harsh damage. It lowers the special attack. We go for the Draco Meteor in return. Thankfully, we don't miss. And that is just going to go ahead and KO that Hydreigon outright, which is incredible. That is going to knock him down to 5. So not a terrible start to the game for us. We did have to take a big shot on our Goodra, but kind of worth it because we did get to go ahead and get the Hydreigon out of the way, which could have been a potentially big threat for us. So now he's going to go ahead and come in with the Great Tusk here. So we have a little bit of a choice to make. Obviously, with our special attack drop, there's not a lot we can do to this Great Tusk right now. So I kind of want to switch Goodra out here. Unfortunately, this kind of gives him free reign to do whatever he wants this turn, which does suck. But even if we do stay in with the Goodra, I can't imagine we're doing much damage to this thing with an attack. So I feel like we kind of have to switch out. The only question is, what do we switch into? If he predicts the switch into the Orthworm and goes close combat, that could be really bad for us, and I don't want to lose Orthworm. But really our only viable switches here are Orthworm or Gastrodon. I guess technically we could do Hawlucha, but I don't want to pop that off just yet. So I feel like we probably go Gastrodon here. I think that's the safest play we can make. Yeah, we'll go Gastrodon, see what he wants to do here. He could just set rocks, he could knock off, we're not sure, but yeah, we'll just go Gastrodon. and see where that gets us. So there's the Gastrodon, as he does just go for the close combat, anticipating the Earthworm. That does a ton of damage to the Gastrodon, unfortunately. Takes it down to about a quarter HP, so that's terrible. It does cut his defenses, and it actually eject packs him out, so that's really interesting. So the Great Tusk's item is used up. He has close combat, obviously, but the eject pack forced him out, so that's kind of interesting. We'll see what it's going to bounce him into. I believe he does get to choose. It's not random. So whereas with red card, which works the other way, it's not. So now he's going to go ahead and come in with the Iron Leaves, which is unfortunate. We're going to go ahead and get some HP back with the leftovers here, but we are very worse for wear with the Gastrodon. So obviously this is a bad situation for us, because we could try to switch to save the Gastrodon, but at the same time he could easily go for the setup. This is also one of his mons that can Terra this week, the other one being the Drifblim. So I feel like it's not worth trying to switch to save Gastrodon, so we kind of have a choice to make here. We can either stay in and try to set Stealth Rock, or we can stay in and try to get a big attack off on this thing. I feel like our best bet is to honestly just try to Ice Beam this thing, because Stealth Rock would be useful, but if this thing tries to set up in our face, this is going to be really bad. So I say we just go for the Ice Beam here, as he actually does just go for the close combat, unfortunately, and that's just going to go ahead and take our Gastrodon out and knock us down to 5. So unfortunately, we do lose Gastrodon there, which is kind of a big deal, because that thing could have been very useful against this team. So now I think our play here is definitely to come in with Iron Moth, so that's exactly what we're going to do. So I'm anticipating this thing might be choice in some capacity. Reason being is because obviously since we have the Pink Urchin, we can set the Electric Terrain on the battlefield, and obviously that could severely that he could use the Electric Terrain against us, obviously, with this thing. So I'm thinking this thing might be choice. He probably doesn't stay in on this matchup. He probably switches, is what I'm thinking. He does have switches, so I think we just go for the U-turn here. I think that's our play. So that's what we're going to do, as he actually does switch the Iron Leaves, which is great. So we're going to be able to get a pivot and maybe some initiative on what he does. He goes ahead and switches in with the Drifblim, as we go ahead and U-turn. So not going to do too much damage, obviously, as it is dually resisted by this thing, and it is very bulky. But we do get the pivot, which is good news. So we get to bring in a matchup against this thing. So unfortunately, I think our best shot against this thing was going to be the Gastrodon, and that's out. We could switch the Pink Urchin in. That is a possibility. I don't know if I want to do that. We're going to have to be very careful with how we play Pink Urchin in this game, thanks to the fact that he has ways of his own to abuse our own Electric Terrain, which is actually why I don't have the Terrain Extender this week, to try and mitigate that. We could come in with the Hawlucha here. That's a possibility. Just try and scare him out. We could do Goodra. I think we'll go into Goodra here, actually. I think we're going to do Goodra, and we'll see where that gets us. So we're going to come in with Goodra here, and he's going to go ahead and reveal he's leftovers. So he's going to get some HP back with the leftovers. I think what we do, he could stay in and hit us with something. I'm not 100% sure what. If he anticipates a Draco Meteor, he could easily switch into something like the King Gambit. I don't really want to drop our special attack just yet, so I think I'm actually just going to go for a Fire Blast here, thinking he might switch, see what he wants to do. So we're just going to Fire Blast. So he has leftovers on the Drifblim, as you would probably imagine, or as I would have expected. So if he does switch into the King Gambit and we can catch this thing with a Fire Blast, that would be incredible. But we'll see. He is going to go for the switch. Okay, so what does he bring in on the Goodra? It is going to be the Moltres. Okay, so that thing's coming in, unfortunately. We go for the Fire Blast. We do connect with it, and that actually does a little bit of decent chip damage to this thing, which is nice. So since we are a special wall, I feel like we probably stay in on the Moltres with the Goodra here. Because we don't really have the best of switches to the Moltres, unfortunately. So I think what we do here is we actually just go for the Surf. So we're going to go for the Surf. We have Surf on deck kind of for this reason, as he goes for a Fire Spin, so that's interesting. That does some chip damage, and it's also going to trap us, which is unfortunate. So we go for the Surf. We're going to see how much damage we can get on this thing. That's a lot of damage. That's going to take this thing all the way into the red, which is great damage. We do take some residual damage from the Fire Spin. So unfortunately, we're pretty worse for wear with Goodra here, but now we're going to have some potential mind games going on, because he could switch to try and save the Moltres. We obviously can't switch the Goodra at this point, so we have to be very careful what we do. I feel like... How do we want to play this? We have to play this very carefully, because he does have switches to everything. I don't want to miss an attack. I feel like we just go for the... He probably doesn't bring the King Gambit in, knowing we have Fire Blast now. So I feel like we just Sludge Bomb. So that's what we're going to do. He does stay in. He goes for the Air Slash. We can survive at 24 HP in the red. We don't get flinched. Go for the Sludge Bomb. Take the Moltres out and knock him down to 4. So that is incredible for us. Goodra hanging on there, coming through for us, which is incredible. So that is great. Goodra takes a second kill in this game. So... Goodra is putting in the work, although it is worse for wear at this point, unfortunately. But now he's going to go ahead and come back in with the Great Tusk. So this thing is obviously a huge problem. At this point, I don't really think it's worth trying to switch to save Goodra with how weak it is. Additionally, I don't know that Goodra will be much help against the rest of his team. So we probably just have to stay in with the Goodra at this point and just let it go down, which is unfortunate, but... that's probably all we can do right now. So, yeah, that's pretty much all we can do at this point. We're just going to go ahead and stay in and click Surf here, as he does outspeed us, goes for the Rapid Spin, and takes us out. So that's actually really unfortunate that he took us out with the Rapid Spin there, because that is going to give him a speed increase. So that's going to make it so he actually does outspeed a lot of our team. So that's actually really bad news. So now we're going to have a big choice to make on our hands. So I think there's only one answer in this situation. I think there's only one answer that we can go for right now, and that's to go ahead and come in with our Orthworm. I think that's the only thing the only answer is to come in with the Orthworm. So we do have a little bit of a plan here. So we're going to come in with the Orthworm. Now, we are Terra, and we were kind of saving the Orthworm for one of two situations here, either the Great Tusk or the King Gambit. I think we have to use it on the Great Tusk now. So what I think we have to do in this situation is we have to go ahead and pop our Terra, terrestrializing into a Fairy type that's going to lose our fighting weakness for us. And then I think we have to go for the Terra Blast Fairy. I think that's going to be the play here. I think that's going to have to be the play here, unfortunately. We don't have a lot else we can do. So yeah, that's what we're going to do. That's going to be the play. So he does stay in. We'll see if we can catch him with this Terra here. So we're going to go ahead and terrestrialize the Orthworm for the first time this season, terrestrializing it into a pure Fairy type, losing our fighting weakness and gaining it as a resistance. So there it is. He does go for a knockoff, which is not going to do much damage, but it is going to get rid of our leftovers, which is unfortunate. We go for the Terra Blast Fairy. How much damage can we get on this thing is the question. We are max attack on this thing. Great Tusk is bulky, and it's not quite a 2-hit KO, unfortunately, but that does some great damage to the Great Tusk, which we're really going to need for later in the game. So now we have another choice on our hands here. We could... How do we want to play this? We know another Terra Blast isn't going to be enough to take this thing out, but I feel like we have to go for it anyway just to get chip damage on this thing. I don't know what else. He might switch, but I don't know what else this thing can do to us. We could actually take this opportunity to go for an Iron Defense, as we can probably... You know what? I think we're actually... He could come in with the only problem is he could come in with the Drifblim, so I kind of don't want an Iron Defense just yet. So... that is the question. How do we want to do this? Screw it. We'll go for the Iron Defense. as he is going to withdraw the Great Tusk. Is he going to come in with the Drifbloom or something else? He is going to come in with the Drifbloom, unfortunately, so he could have just got chip damage on this thing, so that's a little unfortunate. We do go for the Iron Defense, so that is going to go ahead and give us a massive physical defense increase. Doesn't really matter, unfortunately, because he is going to be a special attacker more than definitely. We can't take a big shot on the Earthworm right now, so we're going to go ahead and switch to the Pink Urchin. That's really the only play we have here. So that is a little bit of a wasted turn, but not much we can do about that. So we're going to go ahead and switch directly into the Pink Urchin right now. We're going to get the Electric Surge to set the electric terrain on the battlefield right now, as he is going to go for a Will-O-Wisp, which actually does suck quite a bit, because that is going to burn our Pink Urchin, which means that, unfortunately, our physical attack is going to be cut. So that could actually play a huge factor in this game going forward. So the question now is, how do we want to tackle this thing? So now that we're burned, he very well might not want to stay in on this matchup, and he could be his chance to switch into the Virizion, I'm thinking. So if we anticipate the Virizion coming in, we could try to get damage on it with a Poison Jab, because we are fully offensive Pink Urchin this week. I feel like he doesn't stay in here. So how do we want to play this? I feel like we have to double back into... I feel like we double back into the Iron Moth. I think that's our play here. So we're going to double back into the Iron Moth and see what he wants to do here. Because I don't want to give him even one turn to try and set up with either the King Gambit or the Iron Leaves. So we double back into the Iron Moth. He actually does stay in. We get the Cork Drive to increase our special attack, as he is going to go for a Hex. So he was just going to try to wear us down there. So that's going to do a little bit of chip damage, not much of anything to the Iron Moth. So now the question is, what do we want to do to this thing? So I feel like he did bring this thing in on the Iron Moth before to try and sponge a hit from us, but now we have Cork Drive. We know he has Will-O-Wisp and Air Slash, or I'm sorry, we know he has Will-O-Wisp and Hex. So I think what we do, we could just try to U-turn out here, because I don't know that he's going to want to stay in since we're Cork Drive boosted, but at the same time, he doesn't really have a good switch. So do we stay in Flamethrower? You know what? Yeah, let's stay in Flamethrower, see if we can get some big damage on something. See what he wants to do here. We're going to see if we can get big damage with a Cork Drive boosted Flamethrower on something, as he is going to go ahead and bust out his Terra, so that's bad. He's going to go ahead and Terrastalize the... he's Terrastalizing into a ground type. Okay, that's bad. That's really bad. Okay, so he Terrastalizes the Drifbloom into a ground type. That's really bad. We go for the Flamethrower here. It does a lot of damage, takes it down by about a quarter, or to about a quarter. Unfortunately, he's packing Terra Blast, and that's really bad news because it's +4, or it's 4 times effective, and he takes out our Iron Moth with that. So that is really bad. So Terra Ground got us there. That's really bad news for us, and that takes our Iron Moth out and takes us down. So that's really bad. So now we're in a bad position right now, because we have Iron Moth is down. We have no choice but to come in with Pink Urchin. And so yeah, we're in. That was really bad. Honestly, that was terrible. So we have to try and rebound from that. The only way I think we can do it is go for a Liquidation here. Now that it's super effective, so that's exactly what we're gonna do. But yeah, the Terra Ground really got us there, and that's terrible. So we're gonna see if we can try to bounce back from that. But that was definitely a really critical moment in the match for us, where we get taken out with that Terra Blast Ground. So yeah, we're going to see what we can do to try and bounce back from that, and we'll see what he wants to do here. So he is just going to go for the Terra Blast Ground here. How much damage is it going to be doing to us is the question. We are bulky. We do survive that with about 42 HP, quarter HP. We go for the liquidation in return. It's not quite enough to take him out, unfortunately, which is terrible. And he is going to get some HP back with the leftovers. So we are going to take some damage from the burn as well. So unfortunately, we're kind of in a bad spot here because if not for the burn, I think a Sucker Punch would actually take him out from this range. We have to check and see how many turns of Electric Terrain we have. So this is the last turn of Electric Terrain. So unfortunately, we have to go for the switch here. This is going to be a rough one right now. This is going to be a rough one. Is it now or never for Hawlucha? That's the question. Or do we come in with the worm? I think it's now or never for Hawlucha. Yeah, it's probably now or never for Hawlucha. We have to just hope he doesn't Will-O-Wisp. I think that's all we can do is we can switch in with Hawlucha and hope he doesn't Will-O-Wisp. He does stay in. We are going to go ahead and come in with the Hawlucha here to try and get the immunity to the Terra Blast. We are going to pop our Electric Seed to go ahead and increase our physical defense, trip the Unburden, all that good stuff. He goes for the Hex instead, just in case we do switch. That does do some good chip damage to us, and then he regains some HP with the leftovers. So that is bad. The terrain is going to be gone, which is actually not a bad thing. We definitely just go for the Acrobatics here, no reason not to. It should take him out from this range if he does stay in. So that's really all we can do right now is just go for it. So that's what we're going to do. And we'll see what he does. This is definitely not the best of spots for us to be in right now. We're a little bit behind the 8-ball. We're going to see what we can do to try and pull this back. Hawlucha has a chance. Unfortunately, we didn't get a chance to go for a Swords Dance because we know he has Will-O-Wisp to burn us, and we can't afford to get burned. So we really had no choice but to just go for the attacking move this turn. We should be outspeeding everything now. That's the only positive thing, because at least the Unburden is tripped. The Electric Terrain is not active, which is actually good for us because it's not going to help. He does stay in. We just go for the Acrobatics and take the Drifloon out. We are going to get hurt by the Aftermath, unfortunately. But we do get rid of the Drifloon and knock him down to 3. So, yeah, that is something. So, the only silver lining at this point, I think, is that all of his remaining Pokemon are weak to either super effective damage from Hawlucha or Earthworm. So that is our only saving grace at this point in the game. So we will have to see if we can make this happen here, if we can come back with the combination of Hawlucha and Earthworm. That's really our only chance. So we'll have to see what he decides to bring in. He's got the King Gambit, the Iron Leaves, and the Great Tusk. He's going to choose to come in with the Iron Leaves here. So he has burned his Terra, which is good. We really can't switch, so we have no choice but to just go for the Acrobatics and hope it's enough to take him out. So that's what we're going to do. We should outspeed this thing. We do outspeed this thing. Acrobatics incoming. It is just going to go ahead and one-shot the Iron Leaves, which is incredible, incredible for us. And knock him down to 2. So Hawlucha putting in the work once again here, and that is incredible. So, yeah, now we're going to see what he wants to do. He is going to come in with the Great Tusk. So, again, we really can't afford to switch. This thing is very bulky, so I don't think an Acrobatics is going to be enough to take it out, but we really have no choice but to just go for it. That's really our only play here is just to Acrobatics, so that's exactly what we're going to do. It is double damage thanks to the Unburden being tripped, but yeah, that's pretty much all we can do, and we're going to have to just hope for the best here. So what is he going to do? That is the question. What is he going to do? It might be enough depending on how bulky invested he is. So we outspeed, go for the Acrobatics. It is going to be enough to go ahead and take the Great Tusk out and knock him down to just one Pokemon. Saw Hawlucha really putting in the work here, getting us back in the game. But his last Pokemon is going to be the King Gambit, and if it has Supreme Overlord, which indeed it does, this could be a real problem for us. So, obviously, this thing has a massive attack increase now, thanks to Supreme Overlord, it being his last Pokemon and all. Additionally, I don't think, even on a resisted hit, I don't think Hawlucha can take a Sucker Punch, although we really have no choice but to just try and find out here. So our only play is to go close combat. That's exactly what we're going to do. He goes for the Sucker Punch. Can we take it? Yes! With 3 HP in the red, Hawlucha hangs on, goes for the close combat, takes the King Gambit out, and that is game. All right. So we are going to get a 3-0 win there against Scorpion, but that was a great match. Very close, very competitive. But Hawlucha, ladies and gentlemen, coming through for us in the darkest of hours. Hawlucha getting the job done, and that is just incredible. So we're going to go ahead and back out here. All right, that was an intense one. But yeah, I am super happy to take the win there. On a very hard-fought game. The Philadelphia Pidgeys are going to advance to a 4-1 record here in the BHDL1. I am super pumped up about that. Super pumped up about Hawlucha and its performance here. And yeah, I think I'm going to leave it there because, as you guys know, I'm going to, in the next video, going to do a weekly recap, and then next week's preview video where I'm going to go in depth about all that stuff. But just very happy to get the win on another very hard-fought one at this point. So, but that's it. Thanks for watching again, everybody. Hope you all enjoyed. Please hit that like button, leave a comment, and or subscribe if you did enjoy, and stay tuned for more new battles in the future. So, that's it, and we'll see you next time.